I welcome you guys into my next video. So, what is the topic of today? You have to understand that if you talk about anything, then you're going to get somewhere. Okay, so you have to start with life, or you have to start with helping yourself to realize that wherever you start in life, you can succumb to a better way of life. So, you have to always understand that when you're promoting yourself as a person, you have to understand how branding works. So, you understand that, for example, when you brand yourself, make sure that you're branding with images of yourself, taking as many photos of yourself, making sure that you're producing as much content as possible, making sure that you're getting somewhere with your professional development every single day. And you have to express yourself. So, for example, when I express myself, I try to talk words, I try to also make music, and I try to do fashion photos, for example. But I don't consider myself a fashion expert, for example. But the thing is that if you look at my Instagram, you'll understand that I'm showing people my life. I'm showing my people life in terms of how I do things. So you have to understand that you have to really, really take into consideration what you're going to say. And when you do that, you realize that there's always a better thing that you can say to progress forward. So you have to realize that health is number one. So when you take care of your health, you always succumb to a better way of life. So make sure that you're not smoking, make sure you're not doing drugs, making sure every single day that you're communicating as much as possible. And understand that you have to always lead yourself in a different direction. Yes. And so my best content that I ever produce is anything that I produce in quotes, audio programs, or videos of myself. But I try to make sure that my content's getting to people, but I'm not trying to become famous. Okay. So for me, I have a perspective in mind that I want to always be able to recognize in a way that I can express myself on camera and video to do a better job for myself. So what's coming up in my life, for example, is gym, for example. And I'm also going to be able to do better because I'm going to be able to lose some weight because I've gained some weight for myself. And now I'm not obese, but I've gained much more weight than before. And now I have to do some cardio. I have to start working out much more. I have to take my dog for the walk. Taking my dog for a walk much more often, and also just exercising for my health so that I can help myself to succeed. But you have to realize that every single day of your life has to be something in words. So you have to express your words of who you are every single day, making sure that you're being consistent on a regular basis to do something productive. Okay, so when you're productive in life and when you're doing something that's really consistent in terms of words or images or any type of music that you may make, you have to understand that you have to do something. You have to do something to succeed. Okay, so what I do to succeed is I produce as much as possible in terms of content, and I try to get it out there as much as possible. So that's what I do on a daily basis. And because I do that, I fulfill my time, I fulfill my productive needs. I try to grow myself as much as possible by reading as much as possible. And when I read, I always learn something new that I've never learned before. So what I've been reading recently is my articles about certain things up online that explain how to read aloud, for example, in terms of what are the benefits of reading aloud and what are the benefits of writing. What are the benefits of having emotional intelligence? Sorry, I understand I always read about that kind of stuff in psychology, philosophy, also writing techniques about life or anything to do with life, for example, or history or politics. I realize I just get into it. And finance is another one, and spirituality. So the more I read, the more I can go travel somewhere. I can be in another person's mind, and I can see exactly what to say in terms of what to teach because I'm reading so much. And because I'm reading so much, I'm just passing over information. And that's what I need to do all my life. I need to be able to understand that the more I progress forward in life and the more I communicate on a daily basis in front of people or doing Toastmasters, for example. I just started Toastmasters, and because I started Toastmasters, I'm going to improve my public speaking ability. I'm going to be around people. I also got myself a job, for example. I'm serving alcohol at functions and events at Bonnering Serb Club. Hopefully, if they call me, and if they don't, I'll find a job somewhere else. It's no problem. But you have to realize that work is a big part of life. And if you're not working, then you're not doing anything. Okay, so when you find yourself not doing anything in life, you have to realize that it's much more how you have to meditate. And meditating is something that you can do on a daily basis to help yourself to never procrastinate, to help yourself really self-reflect upon your thoughts, self-reflecting upon who you are every single day, making sure that you're doing something consistent online every single day to make sure that you're becoming much more. Do you understand? And you have to realize everyone has to become more than they are today. And why is that? Because self-development is the best way of life. And that's what I do on a daily basis. So you have to realize that when I was in high school, I was jigging high school. I was playing poker during classroom sessions and stuff like that. I was jigging school to go poker. And back then I had a fake ID. And because I had a fake ID back then, I was never caught by the police. But you have to realize that having fake IDs is an illegal thing. And you have to realize, never get yourself a fake ID. Never get yourself a fake ID so that you can get into a nightclub. Because if you get caught out, you can pay a massive fine. And you can also serve a sentence of prison for that. And you have to realize that it's not worth it, okay? So you have to realize that you have to travel as much as possible, okay? And I've been lucky in my life because some people in my life, like my mother and my parents, for example, have given me much more blessings, okay? And I've received those blessings. Like, for example, my mum would buy me clothes, for example, and I would always ask her, is that embarrassing for a woman who is my mum to buy me clothes? And she says, no, why would that be embarrassing? My mum wants to dress me up. I mean, she wants me to look good, you know? And so the thing is that it's much more how, for example, you have to help your parents as much as possible. And my mum recently said, she's like, that eventually she wants me to take care of her. And you have to understand that she's been taking care of me all my life, in terms of most of my life when I was with her and when I'm with her and stuff like that. But the thing is, that's what a mother must do for their kids, and that's what a father must do for their kids, is to take care of your kids as much as possible, try to educate them and try to be with them in terms of time, you know, saying be with them in terms of helping them to recognize certain things and certain words and certain things that you can do and certain things that you can't, and certain things that you cannot do. So you have to realize that education never stops. So you always have to educate your kids. You have to educate other people as well. And you have to really understand that when I educate people online. I go online as much as possible. I try to educate, to really, really educate myself, because the more I educate people, the more I educate myself around what I can say and what is not good to say and what is good to say and what is the best way of wisdom for me. So wisdom works like this. So you have to realize that what you stay away from in life is wisdom. So you have to realize you never stay away from wisdom, but you have to realize that, for example, in my journal, I would say what you never do. And for me, what you never do is, for example, get a boat. Never get a boat for yourself. Never go fishing. Never go and eat McDonald's. Never eat KFC, for example. And why do I say that? Because there are certain things you stay away from. You understand? You stay away from processed food. You stay away from things that you cannot afford. So if you're someone that wants a boat in your life, that's up to you. That's your decision. But for me, I have no use for a boat. And for me, it's pretty boring to be able to get a boat for myself and to go with my boat in the ocean and just be there by myself, for example. But you have to realize that I have friends in life and I can always invite my friends and stuff. But the thing is that it's just not for me. I promise you, it's not who I am to get a boat. I realize I have to take care of that boat. I have to really, really take myself out on a journey into the ocean somewhere. I have to have a car for myself. And I have no car at the moment. I have no boat. I have no yacht in terms of life. And you have to realize that it's just not for me. So certain things that are not for you in life, you stay away from. Yes, and so you don't need to go get yourself a boat that's $20,000 because you want to surf the ocean. You can always get yourself a taxi. For example, what I've done in my life is I went to Sydney, and because Sydney is surrounded by water, you have to understand that I took a taxi in terms of a boat taxi, and I just gave $10 and I went on a cruise with myself and the guy who was driving the boat, and I was just on the ocean by myself. Or you know, I was with the guy, but I was having a nice conversation and stuff. But you have to realize that if you want to be on the ocean, you can go and get yourself a tour ticket from Ticketek or somewhere where you can get tickets to go on a ferry or to go on a ship, for example, or a large boat, so that you can go and experience that kind of thing on the ocean and stuff. But you have to realize that if you're someone who is not interesting, okay, you have to realize that you have to find things that is interesting about you, and you have to realize every single day is going to be an interesting day. And why is that? Because when you find things fascinating, okay, you'll be much more curious about everything. So you have to always improve your communicational skill around people, and you have to talk normally. But the more you talk in terms of original content, and the more you talk in terms of, the more you talk about and talk in original content and originality inside information, where you can actually expose something about your life, where people can understand you more, and people can understand what you've done and where you've been and what you have experienced in life, you can always understand that you're going to help someone like that. So for example, my Instagram, I realized that rarely does anyone come up to me and say, "Hey Danny, your Instagram's very inspirational." They don't say that because they don't even think about it, and they don't think that my Instagram helps people in some kind of way. But the thing is that on my Instagram, I have my YouTube channel, I have my Mega Drive, I have $1 Million Mentors and Inspirations. For example, I have a free suicide helpline I realize nobody is using that. I realize people don't find my content interesting in a way that they want to tell me that, hey, you're making a big impact on people's lives through your photos and through the content that you're making. I realize it's like I get underappreciated about myself, in terms of about people unappreciating things that I do for them. You understand? So you have to realize that it's a good thing for me and it's a bad thing. You understand? But the thing is that it's much more good than bad. So you have to realize that no matter how much you make in terms of content out there that you can produce, that you can send to people, for example, your perspective, I promise you can help someone, but you have to realize that 99% of those people are not going to tell you how good your content is. I promise you 99% of those people will not call you an inspiration. So you have to realize that you must not expect other people to call you an inspiration. You must not expect other people to give you anything in life. And you must go and explain yourself in a way that you can give your perspective, you can give something from your heart, you can give some words. So when you give some words, you can really, really understand yourself much more. You can go different boundaries and different ways of improvement, and you can really organize your thoughts around a certain video that you make, or audio programs, or quotes, or whatever it is that is good for you. You can every single day produce as much as possible. So when you do that, I realize it just benefits you professionally, and it prevents you, or I realize it prevents you from doing worse in life. So for example, the reason I do a lot of content in terms of producing content is because it just helps me overall as a person in terms of education, self-education, which is the same thing. It helps me in terms of confidence, and being able to organize my thoughts is the main thing. So I make sense to myself, but my mum, for example, says that sometimes I don't make sense, and sometimes I don't make sense. You know, sometimes the things that I say is just too much for someone, in terms of they don't really understand exactly what I'm talking about. You understand? So you don't have to always make sense. You understand? But the thing is that if you can express words, then you can always make sense around your words, around what you're saying about yourself and other people in terms of life. So if you're saying something about someone else, make sure it's a good thing. Make sure every single day that you expose as much information about you as possible. But the thing is that you have to always leave some level of privacy in your life. So you have to realize that people are going to view your content, and people are going to find you inspirational, but they won't say that you're an inspiration. So long after I die, people are going to realize exactly my life, and realize they're going to see how much content I put up forth into the world, and how much I really, really designed in terms of music, and in terms of my passions, and in terms of life. So you have to realize that working the 9 to 5 all the way in your life, in terms of long term, is not the way to go. You have to realize that 9 to 5 is a short-term resolution or solution to having some money in your pocket, so that you can be busy in your life, and so that you can stay productive, for example. So when you are productive in life, you have to realize that there's always something that you can do right now that can help to improve another person's life. So when you understand that's through words, silence, meditation, being able to produce music production or anything around music or compositions of words or anything that reflects who you are, for example, can really, really benefit you in the long term. So you realize that most people are out there to make money these days, for example. So you have to realize that money is not the ultimate solution to your problems. And yes, money can help you in terms of many ways to get around the world and to buy fancy clothing and things like accessories and being able to help you look good, for example. But the thing is that it's better for you to exercise and to be able to be healthy than to understand that nothing in life that you produce cannot make another person grow. So you have to realize that what I'm saying is that you have to produce as much content as possible so that you realize that money comes forward with the information that you make. And the more information you make as a person, the more you can grow in terms of everything that you do. And when you grow as a person, you have to realize that many people don't know how to act and they don't know how to really go set forth a goal that they can achieve, for example, because why? They're not either writing it down or they're not exposing those goals for themselves, or they're not exposing enough information to really get somewhere in terms of what they want to do. So you have to realize that because I've done busking and because I've done public performances around people with public speaking, I'm much more better of a speaker. I'm much more able to really interest the crowd in some kind of way, to be able to really note something that I've done in a way that you have to understand that I can really grow from. So when I grow in terms of quotes or anything that I produce, you have to realize that once I teach it, I become much more of a spiritual teacher. I become much more of a life coach. I become much more of what I want to be. And you have to realize that it's the key of success. I understand that the key of success is really understanding your words, understanding what you talk about, understanding yourself from a different perspective. So you have to realize that my mum says, for example, she's like, you talk about the same thing in a different way. I tell her, yes, I talk about the same thing in a different way. I try to expose something different in another manner. You understand? And you have to realize that when you do that, for example, you have to realize that there's always something more you can add in terms of life, in terms of perspective or information that you can help yourself with. So for example, the more I read about certain things and certain scenarios and certain way of thinking, I think better. So that's why I'm very positive in life, because I talk to myself positively. So because I'm positive, I'm never going to commit suicide. I'm never going to kill other people. You understand? That's my law of success. So you have to realize that everyone has their own philosophy, and you have to realize also that everything I've done in terms of content has been messy. Okay, it's a messy thing. And why is it a messy thing? Because when I talk about something, you have to realize I talk about life. Overall, I talk about life. I talk about certain scenarios, certain dictionaries of persuasion, and certain ways of communicating in different ways. You understand? So when I communicate something in a different way all the time, I know for sure that someone's going to get an idea from me. So they're going to get one idea that can help their life. You understand? So each and every single one of my videos exposes something about me, something about my life, something about my experience as a person and human being. And you have to realize that when I expose as much as possible around who I am, I'm always going to deal with certain people and certain scenarios and certain theories that I can take action upon to help them or to succeed on my own in a way that I can express my perspective. And when I do that, I just help myself to really understand something that I talk about. And what I talk about always is just overall life itself. I talk about anything I talk about anything that comes to my mind. And when I talk about anything that comes to my mind, I really grow as a person. I grow differently than how other people grow, because everyone grows in a different manner. Some people like to be silent all the way. Some people like to express their words. and some people like to stay away from people. Some people love to be with people. I realize everyone's gone different directions. And because everyone's gone different directions, that's what makes that's what makes life unique. Okay. But the more you see life, you have to realize that if you're someone that can't travel to all these places, you have to realize that there's a better time coming where you can. Okay. There's a better time that you have to believe in, that you have to realize that there is a future in you right now that you have to develop. Okay. And you have to develop it right now. And the best way to develop that future freedom or anything in terms of financial freedom or perspective is to talk it now and be now instead of into the future. So what I'm saying is try to be much more present right now, and the more present you are, okay, by looking at your surroundings, looking at the person you are, making sure that your words are guiding your thoughts, guiding the person in terms of who you are inside of you right now. You have to realize that words will find the direction. Okay, words is the best thing that I stick to. And why do I stick to words so atrociously, in terms of why do I stick to words in a passively nice way, in a way that I stick to words because I have faith. Okay, and because I have faith to speak words, I realize my words have power. I realize that's why I understand that I have a YouTube channel, I have social media, because I'm every single day understanding that the more content I produce, the more it's going to create some kind of effect in the world. And it's going to create some impact that I want to achieve. Do you understand? So you have to realize that I don't have a massive following of people that follow me and stuff like that. And the reason why that is because I want a low profile. I want to be someone that not many people follow. Okay. And why is that? Because I don't believe that I have to be famous. I don't want to be famous. You understand? It's for my own protection. You understand? So what I want to do is I want to help people as much as possible, but I don't want to get to the point where the media starts taking photos of me or starts spreading rumors about me or anything like that, where they have said that I've died, for example, when I haven't died, or when they say something about me that's untrue, for example. I don't want people to start, for example, exploiting me in a way that looks bad on my image. You understand? So you have to realize that you have to be careful who you surround yourself with. You have to be someone much more for yourself in a way that you understand that. Before this video, I made sure that I said to myself, I'm going to create a life coaching video. And because I'm going to create a life coaching video, I don't know what I'm going to say, but somehow faith is going to help me through words that I speak. I'm going to have direction in some kind of domain. I'm going to understand that my words will lead me exactly where I need to go. So it's like, for example, some higher spiritual power is talking through me, and it's talking through the words that I speak right now. You understand? Because everything's connected through words and silence. Okay. So sometimes you have to understand that when you listen to music, what you can do when you listen to music is you can watch Netflix while you listen to music. You can put background music on while you read in silence. You can put background music on while you communicate, in terms of while you read as well, out aloud. And when you read out aloud, what's going to happen is you're going to stop stuttering and you're going to be much more confident reader in terms of life. So you have to realize that it's been noted by science that the more you read out loud to yourself, the more you can solve problems, and the more you can also have a certain function. You can also understand that it's much more about improving your cognitive abilities and motor skills and memory and learning capacity. And that's what's going to help you to grow. So you have to understand that when you read out aloud, you improve your cognitive ability, you improve your focus and concentration, memory, and also your learning ability, and also you improve life skills. So that's why I'm a life skills coach, because I teach people certain things about life that either they have never heard about things of that nature, or they need some ideas in some kind of way. So what I try to do, I look inside of myself through the words. Yes, I live in my words. And because I live in my words, I always find a better direction in terms of where I want to go, in terms of my perspective, okay? And because I understand something about certain scenarios around life where I can speak those words and I can really, really find someone much more attractive in terms of what they speak, in terms of how they look. Because you have to realize that eventually my skin and my way of life in terms of my physicality is going to change over time. So that's why when you look at my Instagram now, for example, I've gone a bit fatter. And because I've gone a bit fatter, you have to realize that I get to a certain stage and I'm like, I want to expose my flaws. I want to make sure that I'm good with who I am. I want to feel good in my skin. I want to make sure that you understand that there was a time in my life where I felt really good. You understand? I felt really good because I became a vegan and because I was a non-smoker and I wasn't drinking alcohol. I wasn't taking drugs. And I always felt good. And I always had that sense of really, in terms of that self-reflective manner that I can always absorb through myself, through words and through music and through energy. Okay, so you have to realize that because now is a different time and it's a different place, I'm much more better than before in terms of my spirituality and in terms of my smartness and in terms of my professionality, in terms of who I am now. But the physical aspect is always changing. You understand? And that's what you have to accept about yourself. So the plan is right now that when I turn 50, hopefully I get to 50 years of age or 70 years of age or whatever it is, I'm going to take as many photos of myself as I can. And that's what Jim Rohn says about life as well. He says, do as many audio programs, do as many video programs, do as many quotes and books as you can, and educate people as much as you can in terms of images, or do as many photos of yourself, do as many aspects of who you are as you can, okay? As much as you can, make sure that you do as much aspects of who you are in terms of spirituality, philosophy, making sure that your nice and beautiful voice is out there as much as possible, making sure that you're impacting that world of yours in terms of everything that you are, okay? You have to realize that when you do that, you'll always understand much more of a greater perspective about something that you can say and something that you can picture around who you are and around an image or a certain imagination that you have or problem-solving ability that you want to solve for yourself. You can always understand you can go different directions. And when you go different directions around who you want to be, you always understand that there's always more learning to do and there's always much more work that you can do. So make sure you understand that every single day has to make, I promise you, every single day has to make you feel that you are deserving of yourself, and you have to realize that you have to be deserving in life and you have to belong in life to everything. Okay, so you have to realize you have to always find yourself more attractive in a way that people can see you and people can also expose you for who you are in a way that they can talk positively about you. But you have to realize that not everyone's going to talk positive about you. You understand? So make sure you expect yourself to talk about yourself in a positive way so that you can really develop your sense of need in terms of who you are. So the reason I can make videos and I can make all this content come true for myself in a way that I can expose words and whatever I expose in terms of life, you have to realize that it gets me in a certain direction and it helps me to improve some aspect of who I am in a different way. So each and every single video that I've made in life or anything that I've made in terms of video has been because I had the drive to do it and because I spoke the words to do it. So what I'm doing now in terms of this video to make it interesting in a way that I can speak in a different tone, in a way that I can speak differently than I have before, that makes the uniqueness of every single video and that makes it different in a way that people can absorb my information in different ways so that they can really understand something much more passionate and something much more of a creative feel through different words and different ways of expressing something, that you can really understand philosophy and a way of life in different formats. So you have to understand that every single day is going to be a new day for you. So what you need to understand that you have to do something new for yourself every single day so that you can understand how to focus and how to concentrate about something that you're saying. You understand? So when you understand, for example, when people look at my Instagram and social media, they understand I'm doing something, okay? And I'm always writing quotes out. I'm writing new updated information, and I'm posting the most updated information about myself because I don't want people to see the person I was at 15 years of age, because I want people to see who I was back then, but what I want to expose much more in life is who I am now. Yes, and who I ought to be in life, in a way that I become something greater through a different style, through different functions, and through different way of focusing and concentration. So you have to realize that the more videos I make, or such as this video, I've made it for 30 minutes in this video so far, and you have to realize that this video is going on for 30 minutes. So that's 30 minutes of concentration, power, and focus that I've been exercising my mind right now through this video to make sure that I have less Alzheimer's disease and less, for example, less dementia in life. So for example, the more videos I do like this, or the more I expose information, the less I'm going to have diseases such as cancer, or such as anything to do with any type of disease. So you have to realize that what I believe in terms of what's to be true or not, you have to realize that I believe in a world that when you produce as much content as possible, then you're always going to be in a better direction all the time. You're always going to have much more better success. So for example, I see Dr. Wayne Dyer, for example, and he was producing a lot of content, but eventually what happened? He suffered leukemia. You understand? So what did he do after that? He started to teach even more. You understand? Because the thing is that the reason Dr. Wayne Dyer teaches so much is because he believes in a spiritual world. He believes that there is a manifestation right now happening in your life, and you're the director of that. And you're someone that's the main character in your film right now. So what he exposes about himself is pure intelligence and pure emotional intelligence, in a way that he explains certain dimensions that you can enter through words and through imagery and imagination, where you can actually grow yourself through different audio and different videos that he makes, and this always connects to different scenarios in life. So you have to realize that the more I create in terms of anything in life, the better I am in terms of everything that I've done, in terms of everything that I've been doing. Okay, I understand that when you understand what you're talking about, you have to realize there's always some kind of dimension that you can talk about that can help yourself to expand your context. So that's what Robert Kiyosaki talks about, and he says that if you understand information, you have to understand the context of that information, or how far that information can drive you to a different place in your life. So that's why reading is so important. When you read as much as possible, you'll save as much money as you can, in a way that you don't go out spending, but you're an investor in a way that you can solve your own mathematical equations, and you can get to a healthy life with yourself, because you believe in yourself so much through your words and through your faith and wisdom and who you are, that no matter what, that there's always something spiritual about you, in a way that you can devote yourself with a time and method of persuasion that you can deliver on, okay, in a way that you deliver it in words, or through expression, or through any type of aspect of you right now, in a way that you can help yourself to understand confidence and how to be much more courageous around life by really solving different scenarios of your life. Okay, and you do this through words, and you do this through music and imagery, and making sure that you're just always exposing that aspect of who you want to be, in a way that you write as much content as possible to manifest a great good of I promise you have to manifest a great good deal of karma in your life, in a way that you have to understand that karma happens, for example, to people. Okay, it happens for people. So what you do to other people will do to you. All right, you understand that? You have to realize that you need to understand that what you do in good faith, okay, will always come back to you in some shape or form. So the more service you give to other people, the more of a business you have. So what have I been learning after school that's been really affecting my life in a great way? You have to realize that there are plenty of sources of information out there that you can read upon right now, that you can really digest that kind of information, that can really help you to expand your context. It can help you to expand who you are, and you can go in different dimensions of life, like for example, words. You have to understand when you go through words, all right? So for example, you see the Matrix, for example, the Matrix film, and what does the Matrix film show you? It shows you different letters and numbers. Okay, so you have to realize that is your mind. Okay, your mind is different letters and numbers, and when you expose yourself to new information, I promise you what's going to happen is you're going to pick up upon little skills. You're going to pick up through little bits of information slowly, and you have to understand that because you pick up on little bits of information, you're going to get smarter as a human being, and you're going to really increase your spirituality and your sense of health, okay, and your sense of confidence and who you in terms of who you want to be, and your real aspect of life is going to be something really interesting because you're always into information, and you have to always understand that when you're curious about something, just like Albert Einstein says, for example, he says that he's only passionately curious, and because he's only passionately curious, he stays passionate like a dog. And you understand? Because have you ever seen a dog? I promise you, they're very passionate human beings. In terms of they're very passionate beings. They're beings of this world. And they live a certain direction. And they live in a way that you also have to live. Okay, you have to understand that this nature of who we are in terms of human beings, we have to extend our hand in a way that we have to help people in some shape or form, in terms of some way, shape or form. Okay, so every single day that I connect words together in a way that I expose as much information possible in different directions. I go different directions about everything. That way I understand I solve everything in my life. I solve that person that I want to be, because I'm a work in progress, and I'm not perfect. You can see I don't have the best beard in the world. I don't have the best skin in the world. I don't have the best hair in the world. I mean, you have to realize that I'm imperfect, okay? And everyone's imperfect in some kind of way. So you have to understand that when you expose yourself in terms of all your flaws, and you let people see that, and you let people see who you are as who you are, you realize that you'll gain more respect from people. And you have to realize it's not about accumulating this whole big social media in terms of followers that can follow you and discriminate you and be able to talk bad about you or positive about you. The thing is that you have to realize that the more you help, the more good karma comes back into your life. So that's why I help people, because when I help people to really find a sense of direction in a way of different formats of information that I speak, I really understand much more my direction in terms of where I want to go and what I want to do with my life. And that's why I understand that when I stick to information in life, I try to be as nice as possible. I try to look as presentable as possible. And you have to realize that I don't look the best right now, but you have to realize that I'm presentable in some kind of way. But the thing is that you have to realize this is who I am. Okay, I'm in my PJs right now. I'm in my pajamas. And you have to realize that when I come home, I have pajamas that I put on, and I'm just that type of guy, you understand? So you have to realize that you don't have to have pajamas in your life, but the thing is that it can help you to get changed and put something on for cozy bedtime, so that you understand that you can sleep in clothes like pajamas for your life, so that you don't have to sleep in new clothing that you just bought. You understand? So you have to realize that when you have new clothes, make sure you put them up in your cupboard. Make sure that you don't throw out anything in terms of old clothing. Make sure you understand that you can still wear it if you lose the weight, or you can still wear it in a different time or different place that's better for you. But make sure you understand that you can still use that clothing. You can still use anything that you need, for example. So anything that you don't need in your life, make sure that you throw it away, okay? Or make sure you go sell it, okay? Go sell it on Amazon or wherever you can sell it these days, okay? So you have to realize that, for example, when you're really talking about something, okay, you start from a place of solitude, okay? You make sure that you go by yourself somewhere. Make sure that there's no outside interference on your video programs and audio programs. So make sure that you go somewhere quiet. Make sure when you do that for yourself, you'll realize that you have a serenity about you. You have more tranquility in ways that you can expose much more information about what you want to do and what you want to be. So you have to realize that when you're talking words, you have to improve. You have to improve the person you are. You have to understand that there's always a way to improve, and there's always certain things that you can do right now that can help your life to succeed. So that's what you need to do. And you have to realize that every single day is going to be something that's going to be always a fascinating type of way of life. Okay, so you have to realize you have to be fascinated about everything. You have to understand that the more you dig into the library of books, I promise you get yourself a free library card. You go out there and you just read all day long. I promise you it's the best satisfaction. I promise you it's the best entertainment. And you have to realize that I don't watch TV. I realize I have nothing to do with the TV. But what I do watch, I watch the trends in the news, for example, on YouTube. And my phone is my TV. So what I do is on YouTube, I watch whatever I want to watch. I watch wrestling things. I watch certain things that are happening behind wrestlers and famous people in terms of life. And I'm always updated by the world in terms of people always updating me around me. What's happening with the Queen, or what's happening with certain people who died, for example. And you have to understand that Twitter is something that you can use just as a trend of what's happening in your area. So I suggest you do have Twitter so you can understand what's happening around the world, because it's good to be updated around things and societies of knowledge in terms of life. So you have to dig into knowledge, okay? And so when you dig into knowledge as a person, you understand that you're always improving yourself. So that's why digging into knowledge is the best scenario that you can put yourself in, because education never stops. Education helps you to live life, and education helps you to breathe. Okay, so you have to realize that I'm not as highly educated as other people are. Okay, I'm not the smartest person in the planet, but I'm also not the dumbest. Okay, and you have to realize that there's certain things in life that you can say and do in terms of everything that's information, and you can grow yourself in expansion, and you can grow yourself in context. You can grow yourself every single day by just reading books and reading material and going out there and making sure that you're producing as well, and not just consuming content, but producing it. Okay, and when you produce content, for example, when you teach something around certain things and you express yourself, of course you're going to feel good. You're going to feel something that's happening in your life, and you have to realize that I'm very proud of everything that I've given in life to society in terms of who I am. Okay, because the more I give in terms of information, the more I can make an impact in some kind of way, and it contributes to society in some kind of way. So you have to realize that society wants to condition you to act like them. Okay, society wants you to be exactly like society. But if you differentiate yourself from other people and you have a unique thing about you, okay, and you have to realize you can always go certain directions. You can always help yourself to really deliver on what you want to say, and say it through video or say it through any type of domain that you use currently in terms of social media. And if you don't have social media, get a pen and get a paper and start writing your thoughts down. Start writing about yourself. Make a book around your life. I mean, make sure that your experiences are out there in the world expressing themselves in terms of life. So the more you express your experience in terms of your nature and in terms of everything that you are in terms of experience and life, you understand that one aspect of who you are can help someone to have an idea that can help you to really understand that it's a generous activity, that you can actually produce content in ways that other people cannot do, because you have a certain uniqueness about you, and because you have certain directions and certain things that you're good at, okay, and you are good at something in life. So the thing is that you have to really develop yourself in a way that you're producing something about yourself that's going to help other people instead of just yourself. Okay, so you have to realize you have to be in a selfless state of mind in a way that you're producing information. So when you're producing information, you'll help yourself to recognize that there's always a different scenario for everything. And you have to realize that you can tackle many scenarios from different perspectives. And the more you understand how to talk in terms of on the camera or off the camera or anything that you're doing right now, you have to understand that you have to be successful. And when you're successful, okay, read about success. I promise you, just go out there, read about everyone who succeeded in something in life, and you understand a better background about your success and about how you relate to other people. And that's what you do through reading, okay? And reading helps you to relate to people and to be in their spot and to be in their shoes. So the more you read, okay, in terms of everything, okay, you read all these books, for example, you understand, you increase your empathy. And the more empathy you have in general, you have to understand that you'll start to deliver on information. So when I was 18 years of age, you understand, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I wasn't making quotes. I wasn't making fashion photos. I was very stupid in a way that I didn't understand what I was doing. Okay, in a way, you have to realize I got myself in trouble sometimes. But the thing is, we all make mistakes and we have to learn from it. Okay, and you have to realize that these days, because I have a YouTube channel, I understand I'm progressing forward in some kind of domain, and I'm producing content in a way that people can understand something that I'm doing. Okay, and because I'm producing something at least, and because I'm really out there making a difference in some kind of way, I understand people can absorb that information and they can become something much more in terms of that information that I produce. Because everything that I get in terms of all my information that I get is I get that information from other people, I apply it to my life, and then I teach it. And you have to realize that that's the whole point of reading. You're reading to get skills. You're reading to get other people's experience. And when you read business books, sales books, spirituality, Buddhism, religion, whatever it is, the more you read, the smarter you are and the more empathy you have. Okay, so that's why it's very important also to read out aloud to yourself in silence. And the more effort you put into reading aloud in life, in terms of to yourself, you read out to yourself, you have to understand you're not only going to be learning, but you're also going to be treasuring your tonality, and you're going to be also connecting new signals in your mindset to have better focus and cognitive skills, and also mobility skills in a way that you have better motor skills, and you're going to improve your memory. Because what happens when you read, you also improve your memory, okay? Because everything that you read these days can make you or break you. So what you have to understand, that if you're only ever reading bad in terms of negative information, that's what's going to attract in your life, is negative information. So you have to understand that you have to stay away from the news. You have to stay away from anything that gets you down. Okay, so anything that gets you down is something that is very, very, for example, someone kills someone. Okay, that you don't even have to know that, because that's happening all the time. Okay, but the thing is that you have to realize something, that when you read positive content, you're always going to be much more positive. Okay, if you're only ever reading things about people who killing people, and people who are doing certain things that are bad in this environment, then you're always going to be that type of person. So what you read is who you are. So who you surround yourself with in terms of information is who you're going to become. Okay, so you have to realize that you have to really understand that you have to get yourself around people who have a positive mindset, people who can teach you something, people who can give you some kind of skill set, so that you can understand much more how to be positive around a certain direction of thoughts and ideas that you can give to other people, just so that you can succeed. Okay, so you succeed through helping other people to succeed. And that's what I do on my channel. I do that through photos, I do that through words, and also through music, and also through silence. So you have to understand that I am inspirational to some degree. Okay, you cannot say that I'm not inspirational. You have to understand that people who produce content, and much more often producing something on YouTube or Instagram or social media, you have to understand that it's going to get you far. It's going to get you somewhere in life. So you have to realize that when I understand something that I want to do, for example, I want to be on a podcast, for example, I promise you what I do is I try to reach out to those people, and I try to ask to have a nice and beautiful podcast with them if I want to. But if not, it's not going to, I promise you, I don't have to be on their podcast. You know, the thing is, I have my own podcast, for example, and because I don't interview other people as much, you have to understand why. You have to understand why I don't interview other people, because I want to go solo. I want to make sure that when I am exposing myself as much as possible, I want to make sure that when I expose all my information, that it's coming from me. And also, you have to realize that it's a nice thing to be able to interview other people, but I don't have the technology to do that, and I don't have that setting as well. So for example, if someone came over my house, I don't have the technology to be able to sit them in a certain criteria in terms of ways that I can help them in a way that I can help them. But the thing is that it's just not that kind of setting for me. It's not that kind of way that I want to produce my content. So I produce content solo I contribute my life to a solo way. So when I really, what I do is I try to read as much as possible. And when I read, I try to go give that information that I read. You know, so I try to update that world of fascination of different scenarios where I can grab information, and then when I have that information, I can give it out in terms of updating you about certain directions and things that you can take, in terms of certain opportunities that you can grab for yourself in terms of ideas, or in terms of anything that's going to help you. That's what I produce. I produce certain scenarios, and because I understand, I say certain information that I produce, I really get somewhere in terms of where I want to go in terms of my life. So that's why I produce content, because it just helps other people. But the thing is that whoever's not listening to my content is missing out to some extent. You understand? Because I do have a lot of information that I read about, and I can always update people about my philosophy and about what I do on a daily basis. So you have to understand that I'm a positive individual in my life. So you can understand that you can say whatever you want about me, but the thing is that for myself, I value my opinion more than other people's opinion. And you have to realize that I don't care what people think about me. You understand? So you have to realize that I think about myself in the greatest way possible every single day. I'm always positive about everything I do. So even if I do something negative, I think positively about it, and I try to change what's negative about me in a positive direction. You understand? So I try to understand much more about life in different directions every single day, exposing as much material and exposing as much content as possible, just like Gary Vaynerchuk or Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins or Eckhart Tolle. And because I understand, I have mentors, and because I have people I can watch for certain individuality content, in terms of I can understand their perspective, I can understand what they're helping themselves with. I can also help myself by that. I can help myself to really grow as a person in different ways. I can help myself to elaborate about something that I'm doing. And you have to understand that when I started this video, I started in one direction and I went in totally different directions, didn't I? Because you have to understand that I don't really know what I'm going to talk about on every single podcast, but I just sit and I hold myself to faith in words that I understand that the words that I speak will lead some kind of direction, in terms of it would lead me. And apparently you have to understand that my words always lead me to some kind of direction. You understand? So the more I speak those words, the more I can really be fluent in my communication and be able to express who I am as a person in a way that I can give my philosophy. I can help myself to understand much more in terms of what I've been doing and why I've been doing it. And that way I help myself to really understand that there's always something that I can do to help myself to succeed. You understand? So you have to understand that if you're doing something to play games, make sure you understand that you can always go read the benefits of those games on Google. I mean, make sure you understand that if you're playing Words with Friends, go and ask yourself, what are the benefits of playing Words with Friends? Or what are the benefits of playing crossword puzzles? Or what are the benefits of playing certain games? And try to play those games that help you build memory or help you build cognitive skills. But I'll tell you the best thing for focus and concentration or cognitive skills, motor skills, memory, learning is reading. And the more you just dig into words, I promise you, the more you really read something, okay, either a physical book or you read something that's an ebook or anything that you're reading, okay, stay fully focused on one thing, okay? And when you stay fully focused on one thing, what's going to happen is you build concentrational power and you build those abilities that I've just said in this video, that you'll improve yourself in all mannerisms. So you have to realize that's why you have to really read, and you have to get somewhere across a different domain of words and individuality type of scenarios where you can actually understand original, in terms of original content that you produce as a person. Or if you're not producing content, make sure you start somewhere. I mean, start journaling your thoughts down. So you have to understand that, for example, this video, the reason I made this video is because I'm going to focus much better. I'm going to concentrate much better. I'm going to be able to really speak my mind. I'm going to be able to speak something into fruition. And because I speak something out aloud, I promise you it rings bells in people in terms of different ways that they can connect to me personally. And you can always message me if you ever need help with something in terms of spirituality or anything that you need help with. I have the answer, okay? And now I don't know everything, but I'll go find out for you. You understand? I'll go find out exactly what other people are talking about, what you want solved, and I will go and make my own opinion about it as well through all the information, and then I will go and give that information to you through a video or through actual writing back and forth with you. You have to understand that when I expose as much words as possible through different directions and different ways of persuading someone in different ways of life, I always understand much more about what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it, because it helps me to actually be much more fluent, and concentration levels, in terms of my concentration levels, go and really skyrocket, okay? So anything that's passing you by right now is time, and you have to realize that you have to use time to your advantage. You have to understand that you have to be out there exactly exploiting yourself in a way that you produce as much as possible, and just don't care about what people think about you. I mean, try to understand that you're trying. I promise you, you have to understand. Go and see my Instagram. I promise you, go and see exactly what I'm doing on my Instagram, and try to do the same thing. I mean, try to brand yourself in a different way, with different photos, with different ways of things, in terms of different styles and different ways of fashion photos, and also try to link things up with Linktree. So use Linktree to your advantage, and understand that I use Linktree and it's for free. And I link my YouTube channel, I link my Mega Drive, I link all my quotes there. I link my Amazon account, for example. Amazon.com.au is where you can find 20 quote books that I've already written. And you have to realize I have over 20,000 quotes on Amazon.com.au, and you have to realize it's only $1.49 per book that you can get right now as an ebook. And just start really coaching yourself everything that you can, so that you can understand much more about certain directions that you want to go in. Okay, you have to realize that reading is the best format of anything. I mean, do you understand? So the more you read, the better you are in terms of everything that you're doing. Okay, you have to understand that when I started reading first, you have to understand I started reading late. You understand? I was meant to start reading books when I was young. Okay, when I was 8 years of age, 6 years of age, and 12 and 16 and 18 years of age, I wasn't reading books. Okay, you have to realize that I started reading audiobooks when I was age 22, okay? And I started to pick up books, I started to read, okay? I started to educate myself after high school, okay? I started late, okay? And because I started late, you have to realize that I was getting myself in trouble because I wasn't reading. I was doing things in my life that I could go to prison for, okay? You have to understand, I never got caught out, but the thing is that you realize that as time progresses, you get wiser as a person. You understand? You get this certain ability of functional skills through reading other people's content, and then when you read other people's content and how they're helping people, it makes you motivated to help people as well. You understand? So you have to realize that the internet's the best thing that's ever happened to people. You understand why? Because there's so much music out there that you can listen to on the internet, for example, and you can also read all this information. I mean, use Google to your advantage. I promise you, if you don't know anything about nutrition, or if you don't know anything about anything, I mean, search up a question on Google and just read all the articles relating to that information. You understand? Because that's what I do, and because I do that as a person, I grow my needs, I grow the person I am in every single function possible, okay? And that's why I'm understanding that when I talk and when I communicate my life, for example, I communicate something on a daily basis, I express myself in different scenarios, I learn something from it. So do you understand that this video might help someone to succeed in some kind of way? I may have said something in this video that's going to help someone succeed in some kind of way or some kind of direction. In a sense, so the thing is that if you want to improve yourself, you have to make more content. And that's why I'm understanding, that's why I'm so curious about life. I'm curious about life because I want to be passionate. I want to be inspiring. I want to be someone in your life that's actually helped you to move forward in one aspect of your life, or anything that I am. I want to inspire you. I want to make sure that you guys are out there doing your best material, doing the best work that you can do, making sure that you understand I'm just 30 years of age. I'm just a life coach, but I'm also a music producer. And you have to realize that because I do things around that, I make myself much more clear about what I want to say and what I want to do, because life coaching and music production is a big deal for me. It's just a big scenario in my life in terms of what helps me to produce something. And because I produce something, I try to give people an experience. I try to give an experience of Danny Milivojevic to these people that are following me. So if you're not following me, and if you like to follow me, please make sure you follow my YouTube channel and my Instagram, so you understand that I can help you also progress forward in your life. So that's what I'm understanding about this whole scenario about life. You have to understand that when you're always out there for yourself in a way that you're always functional, in a way that you're reading and you're doing something to help yourself do something positive in ways that help people to grow and helps you to grow the most, I promise you there's nothing else that you can do other than make sure that you're selfless and make sure that you can be as passionate as possible to help as much as you can. And that's the whole scenario, and that's what's going to make you or break you.